A new MMO is coming soon, very soon.
The southern kingdoms are dead. For you, hope lies to the north. Perhaps there you'll find the light you seek. Ember. Gather your allies, face the darkness, and discover the forgotten light.
But what is Embers Adrift, and what should you expect from this game? Embers Adrift is created by a 10-person team who sought to make a challenging, immersive, group-based, and community-driven MMO. I think it's important to put stress on both of these points here, the size of the team and the game they're making. This, like Monsters and Memories, feels like a game that is paying a lot of homage to prior MMOs. In the brief time I got to play the game, it felt very much like the difficulty and the lack of handholding you'd have expected circa the turn of the century when we were worried about things like Y2K. And they're doing it with a small team. A very small team. To put it in perspective, their 10-person team is less than half of the recent batch of positions posted for Ashes of Creation, another independently developed MMO. Embers Adrift is described as a game with low fantasy environment and an immersive experience. No quest hubs or mini maps here. Even magic is lacking, as they instead use an alchemy system. It is designed around difficulty, community, and perhaps to many audiences of newer MMOs, a bit of a slower gameplay style. So I wouldn't go in expecting this game to play like Elder Scrolls Online, Final Fantasy XIV, or Guild Wars 2. The idea of combat is that each time you go into battle, there should be a challenge and a sense of danger. In my very limited experience with the game, I found this to be true. Even small deer and boar could be the end of me if I bit off more than I could chew. The game uses a consider system as well as a chevron system that shows both the level of the creature and its difficulty, with more chevrons above the creature bar meaning it's more difficult. With that difficulty comes the need for others. The core of the gameplay for Embers Adrift is social. When I played it, grouping was what felt like the key to enjoyment. Working together, asking if it was a good idea or a bad to attack some of the harder creatures we came across, and naturally pulling them anyway whether they said yes or no. Now, some of the key features of the game include strategic tab target combat, adventuring content for 50 levels, meaningful day-night cycles that impact the world and mob behavior, seasons, which I believe take over a month, varied questing with different choices leading to different outcomes, no cash shop, microtransactions, loot boxes, NFTs, or any in-game monetization. So speaking of in-game monetization, let's talk about their payment model. It's subscription-based with a box price. The game will retail for $39.99 US with a $14.99 a month US month subscription. But a special promotion will run from October 1st to the 31st, selling the game for $29.99, and the subscription fee will be reduced to $9.99 through the end of 2022. What's interesting here is it looks like the $9.99 subscription price will actually stay locked in as long as your subscription remains active. If that's the case, talk about an early adopter and loyalty perk. Now there are 3 roles to choose from: the supporter, the defender, and the striker. In each role, there are 3 individual specializations that unlock at level 6. Sadly, I didn't get to level 6. Our 3-person group consisted of myself as a striker alongside 2 supporters, and we did fine. For the supporter specialization, you can be a duelist, sentinel, or warlord. The defender offers the juggernaut, the knight, and the marshal. And finally, the best path, for the striker, you can be a berserker, a brigand, or a warden. One of the things I found interesting about the roles is the support seemed to be a bit divergent from the traditional healer, as in the 3 roles, only one discussed healing while the other 2 seemed to allude to buffs and debuffs. The game does have potions, so that could play into it, but I also think that before level 6 you get some heals. It should be noted too that your decisions aren't final. You can forget a role and switch specialization, but this does mean you'll lose progress. Crafting and gathering appear to be very important to parts of Embers Adrift. Because I didn't get to experience this all, I had to go to the forum to see how it worked. Many thanks to Zavire and Battlestorm. I'm sorry if I mispronounced either of those names, although how would I mispronounce Battlestorm? But thank you for their simple explanation. There are 9 harvesting and crafting progressions, so you have miner, hunter, forester for harvesting, and armorsmith, outfitter, tinkerer, woodworker, weaponsmith, and provisioner for crafting. This seemed to be the way most gear was going to be bound and made in the game. Of these, each of your characters will only be able to have 3 of these skills, so there will be a necessity to interact with other players and have a actual communal sense. It reminds me a little bit of Ultima Online that did this, where you could only do certain skills, so you actually had to work together, and it created trade. There's no jack of all trades here. But what is an MMO without lore? Because I love story and lore so much, I mean, I wrote books. I wrote books largely because of how much I enjoy the lore in Everquest. And, you know, if you want to help support this channel, those books are linked down below. But I hope you'll indulge me for a moment. Just a short moment, as I do a bit of a dramatized reading of the lore that was on the Embers Adrift website, so you can get a feel for what this game has to offer in the story department. In the old kingdoms to the south, beyond the great chasm and the horrifying Darklands, the people found a small amount of something they formerly thought was only a myth, called Ember. A thing they had never seen, only known from the children's tales they were told in their youth. It was said in these myths that with Ember, one could perform the most miraculous feats. Very quickly, rumors spread of this Ember. Kings, queens, warriors, and other powers sought this small amount of Ember so they might unravel its mysteries and claim its power for their own. A terrible war broke out, leaving all peoples of the old kingdoms seeking for a safe place to live in peace. Most went south, east, or west, due to the looming threat of the Darklands to the north, a place where few have wandered, and even fewer have returned. Those who did return were not the same. They were no longer sane. Their minds were left somewhere beneath the dark bowels of the Darkland. The players in Embers Adrift are some of the few who have made the treacherous journey across the Darklands, maintained their sanity, and found new haven waiting for them. Though new dangers and adventures await them north of the wall, they have found a little peace in New Haven. There are 8 more lore entries on Embers Adrift's website, so if you're interested in the lore, go over there. If you're interested in the game, take a look. The links to the game are right below. But what do you think? Are you excited to jump into an MMO like this with a classic feel? Between Embers Adrift and Fractured Online, we really have a new revival this year of games trying to bring back that classic feel of the MMO that is kind of missing in some of the newer games that have come out. Let's just put it, for example, this way. Fractured Online and Lost Ark are very different. New World and Embers Adrift are very different. On the horizon, we have games like Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, and perhaps further out, Monsters and Memories. So it's clear that there are at least some passionate individuals that want to bring back this classic MMO feel. And I, for one, am excited about it because it's the kind of game that I really enjoyed for decades. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. And while we're talking about MMO launches, why not check out this video here where I covered the boom bust cycle that's been happening to MMOs. I mean, what was behind New World losing really a couple 100,000 players within really a month? What happened to Lost Ark? If you enjoyed this video, after all, you are here at this end of the video, please consider liking and subscribing. I give you MMO content weekly and I try to make it fun and informative. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.